Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to this presentation. It's my joy to be with you today, and we are going to be talking about something that is very dear to my heart, something I'm very passionate about, and something that's really vital for us as leaders in today's world. We're going to be focusing on how to embrace a coaching mindset as a leader. My name is Patricia Omoqui. I am a senior executive coach and a leadership development consultant, and I've been doing this work with organizations for close to 20 years, and it's something that I find great passion and joy in doing. My work is focused on helping leaders and teams thrive. And so just to give a little bit about I played basketball at Princeton and then played professionally in Brazil, England, and Sweden. It was a fun way to start my career. I married a Nigerian, so I am a global citizen, have 3 daughters, the oldest of which has a rare disease and special needs. So I'm extremely passionate about diversity and inclusion issues and equity in the world. I'm also working to raise 3 powerful female leaders to help us in moving humanity forward. I discovered my purpose back in 2005 when I did a lot of soul searching, and I realized I'm on the planet to help people grow into their potential. And so I have found my way and deepened myself to give you and share with you the work that I do and the experiences that I have. I bring a positive psychology focus to my work because I believe that we have the capacity to thrive as human beings, just rather than just survive. And of course, I've gotten lots of certifications along the way, from being a professional certified coach to a chief happiness officer. So I truly live and breathe and infuse all these things into the work I do with leaders. And so it's exciting for me to really draw you into this topic today on the current reality of employee engagement. You know, all of us know that it's a real struggle. Since the beginning of the pandemic, we've been doing surveys to figure out how are employees doing. And people are exhausted. 53% of employees say that they're exhausted to the core, and many of them report being on the edge of burnout, or at least in a state of languishing. And people are hungry for recognition from their managers, but they're often not getting enough of it. On top of that, employees want to feel like they're being invested in and that they have the right opportunities for advancement and growth. But many of them are feeling, only 29% of them consider themselves happy with the current level of advancement in their organizations. And it's pretty crazy to say that only 13% of employees are actually fully engaged in the workplace. So we have a challenge on our hands as leaders. And what I'm going to present today, I think, is going to offer you some very practical and simple ways to approach working with your employees with this coaching mindset so that you can increase their engagement levels, their productivity, and allow them to feel differently in the workplace. So what we know from Gallup's research and much other research is that a coaching approach does increase engagement. And what we're aiming for as leaders and managers is not just to be so-so in our approaches. I know all of you watching this want to take your management to another level. And what they found in the research is that great managers, they focus on individual and team engagement. They feel they are there to help employees be able to succeed at the next level. And many of you might be familiar with Gallup's Employee Engagement Survey, which is a really powerful tool. If you're not, you should look it up. And it offers 12 specific things to be aware of to engage employees. Things like, do I know what is expected of me at work? Do I have what I need to do my job successfully? Has somebody recognized me in the last 7 days? So these powerful questions are things to be aware of when you're thinking about the approach that you could take in engaging your employees and bringing out the best in them to make sure that they have what it takes to succeed. So what we're noticing and we're all moving through is there's an old approach and then there's this new approach, right? So the old school approach is that once a year we'd sit our employees down and we do an annual review. And what the new suggested approach is instead to have ongoing, regular interactions, deep coaching conversations with your employees on a frequent basis to bring out the best in them. So I want you to really sit and think where you are. Which one of these sounds more like you? Are you more of a boss right now or more of a coach? And be honest with yourself. And it's okay to be where you are. The boss is the talker, the teller, the fixer, the presumer, the controller, the person who puts results first and sometimes gets into the blame game, maybe feels they need to be distant from the people who are underneath them. Whereas a new style is to have this coach approach where you're listening, you're asking questions, you're working to prevent challenges and notice patterns and get ahead of situations. You're drawing people in from an intrinsic place to seek their commitment, to help them overcome challenges. You get your hands dirty with the people that you're working with, and you put people first. You take responsibility. You reach out. You show that you care. You make contact. So just step in and engage. Where are you right now? Are you more of a boss or are you more of a coach? Either way, what you're going to find in this presentation today are simple, practical skills and techniques to begin using a coaching mindset in your workplace. So let's talk about the many hats that we can wear as leaders and managers in the workplace. And you'll see on the left-hand side, you can see a continuum from telling answers to asking questions. And along the bottom, you can see it goes from directiveness all the way up through a coaching approach. And so these are all hats you might have to wear in your role, but the key is to consciously choose the hat that you need for each situation and not always default to one, particularly sticking with the boss approach. So the boss is directive and tells people what to do and how to do it and when to get it done. And we all know what that boss approach feels like, don't we? And then some of us have to put on that teacher or trainer hat, right? So you might know more than the people that are reporting to you, and you might have to teach them and share your knowledge and expertise. Then you might sometimes wear the mentor hat, where you're talking about your own experience and giving guidance from situations that you've been in. But what the hat that we're going to talk about today is the coaching hat. And when we put on a coaching hat, we're getting super curious. Curiosity is the biggest tool of a coach. And we're asking a lot of questions to really deeply understand people and bring out the best in them. So let's talk through what is this thing called coaching. Coaching is about having a conversation where you're using that ask rather than directive tell approach. The idea is that you're investing in the people around you to help them grow more fully into their potential. And coaching conversations lead to deep, meaningful connections, but it's not just about connection and it's not just about insight. It's helping people move to take their insights and their feeling of being supported and turn it into action that creates growth and progress for the organization. I know we all want more growth and progress from the people on our team. So how do we go about doing that? Well, coaching uses a neuroscience-friendly approach. Research shows that these things that go on in our brain are really important to be aware of. When you're in a tell mode, you typically put people in a threat response where adrenaline and cortisol are flooding them. Whereas when you're in a coaching mode, you're increasing the reward response in the brain where people are brought in, they're interested, they're engaged, they're open, and they're willing to learn and grow. And when we ask powerful questions in a coaching conversation, it is wiring and firing and wiring new pathways in the brain that literally expand people into new potential and new ways of thinking and then being in the workplace. It's a very powerful approach. So we're going to walk through 5 skills, and I'm going to walk you through these very quickly. Usually this is like a day-long workshop full of exercises and role playing, but I'm going to give you just little nuggets about each of these skills. And my ask of you is to pay attention and pick 1 or 2 of these skills to work on actively when you leave this presentation. Pick what resonates with you and what you're ready to practice. So the first skill is a coaching presence. What does that mean? Well, many of you know how it feels when you go into a meeting with your boss or your supervisor and they're on their phone or they're looking at their computer, or maybe you're on Zoom and you can hear them typing instead of listening to you. None of us like to have someone have a conversation with us and be distracted. So the most simple thing you can begin to do with your employees is to come and be fully present in conversations. This means write down your to-do list and get it off your mind so you can be fully focused. It means turn off the cell phone. Well, you got to have your computer open if you're doing virtual ones, but shut down Teams or all the pings that could be bombarding you. And then bring your full self to the conversation. Be present. Try not to let your mind go to past and future and spin in circles. Instead, try to be really centered and open-minded. Remember, you're there to serve the person that you're working with and to bring out the best in them and to share the best of yourself as well. None of us like to feel judged. So I want to encourage you, people feel that energy if those thoughts are going through your mind. Put the judgments aside. And then truly believe that this person in front of you is full of potential and can do great things. And it's your job to see how to bring out the best in them and collaborate with them to get better results. So that in itself is a skill, showing up fully present and holding a safe space for a conversation. A second skill is to listen. And I mean to listen deeply. We're not just there to hear and again, hear at a surface level. We're here to truly listen and pay full attention with all of our senses. Listening is a full body experience. It's leveraging our eyes to pick up on cues in the person across from us or across from us virtually. It's about listening and hearing. What are they saying? What aren't they saying? It's noticing shifts in their body language and even the energy that you might notice in them. And so you want to listen deeply and pay attention to what is this other person truly trying to communicate to you? There's a lot of barriers that get in the way to effective listening. We need to remove distractions. We need to stop and be aware that sometimes we truly don't understand what's being communicated. We can ask clarifying questions to make sure we're really hearing someone. And we have to let go of our opinions and our judgments. People need to feel heard in order to be able to move forward and to be engaged. And you want to think about the type of conversation is different when you're coaching someone. You're assuming that this other person has lots of wisdom and answers inside them. Again, you're drawing that out of them. You want to leverage this tool. The opposite of judgment or the antidote to judgment is curiosity. So you want to be curious and explore and see what emerges. You do not know what might come out of this conversation. And so you come in curious and willing to go on an adventure in a conversation. And then you want to be guided by this 80-20 rule. That means 80% of the time, you're quiet. 20% of the time you're talking. And that might be a huge shift for some of us because we sometimes default to talk. We need to learn instead to be a good listener, and it takes a lot of practice. So we've created a coaching presence and a safe space to have a conversation. We're deeply listening. And then this third skill is to ask powerful questions. Powerful coaching questions are the who, what, when, how questions. They're the open-ended questions. And what you're working to do is to get the person to reflect, to grow their self-awareness. You might ask questions that challenge assumptions. You might ask questions that lead to new perspectives. Where would you like to go with this? What might be possible? Those questions open someone, and you know you've asked a good question when someone says, that's a really good question. I hadn't thought of that. So you don't want to prepare them all in advance and be scripted because you don't know where the conversation is going to go. So you want to learn the skill of being present and then asking the next powerful question. You want to ask one question at a time. You don't want to be a question interrogator and bombard them. Here's the 20 questions that I think of. You ask one question at a time. You bring calm, open energy. You meet the person where they are, and you bring out insights and then turn those insights into action. A few tips on what to avoid. Don't ask yes, no questions, closed questions. Instead, keep those questions open. Be aware that when you ask a why question, from a neuroscience perspective, it might put someone on the defensive. So you also don't want to lead them to the answer. Again, the assumption is this employee has insights that are going to guide them forward, and you're going to co-create through the situation, not drag them along with your questions. Work to keep your opinions and advice out. And sometimes we take our opinions and advice and we put them in the form of questions. So be careful of that. And remember, you don't want to come in with 20 questions you've prepared in advance that then you start using those questions and it makes no sense in the context of the situation. The person's going to be like, yo, dude, why are you asking me this question, right? They're going to be uncomfortable. So dance in the moment is what we say as coaches. We dance in the moment to bring the conversation forward, and it evolves naturally. This is one of my favorite slides. I want to encourage you to take a screenshot of this and put it by your computer or in your office. This acronym WAIT. Why am I talking? It is so easy to go into boss, trainer, or mentor mode where you're telling them everything you think they need to know. I want to encourage you to wait, ask a question, and allow silence. And let the other person engage with you. Make space for the other person's perspective and thoughts to emerge. So often people have solutions and insights that we would never think of ourselves. And then when we bring ourselves together and collaborate, amazing possibilities unfold. The fourth skill is to encourage. How does it feel when we get just a moment where someone takes the time to think of us and encourage us? It opens us, it warms our heart. It makes us feel good, to be heard, to be understood. And so this encouraging, when we get it, we experience positive things happening in our brain. Our brain lights up and it brings higher levels of oxytocin. That helps us be creative and collaborative. So maybe one of the key skills you need to go and take away is remember to encourage someone every day on your team. We all know how much it means to us. When we give that gift to others, it can make a significant difference in their daily work. There are 3 forms of encouragement I'm going to quickly walk you through. So the smallest heart here is about praising someone for what they did. You did a great job putting that report together. So that kind of encouragement, it feels good. But imagine this, the next level of encouragement is appreciating the impact and contribution. So that report that you put together, it got the attention of the leaders and they made a different decision because of the effort you put in. Thank you, I appreciate what you did. Imagine the person expands even wider. Now, if you want to take it to another level, you can acknowledge who that person is. An example of that would be, wow, I see how you worked very diligently. You used your analytical skills and you were dedicated to bringing about this report so that it would move the needle and leaders would pay attention to what was needed. Thank you. That expands the person even further. So take the time to offer encouragement. And there are so many simple ways to do this. Paying attention to someone's strengths. What is each of your employees really good at? Have you ever taken the time to take stock of that? Start to notice and reflect it back to them. Thank them for progress. Notice the effort that's put in. Notice if they take a bold step in a new direction. Notice if they're willing to go out of the comfort zone and take a risk. Notice how someone might be going the extra mile to make an impact on someone else. When you encourage people, you create more of these behaviors in the workplace. And imagine a team where everybody is encouraging one another. It becomes a very powerful and uplifting way to be at work. This fifth skill is vital as well. So we talked about presence, we talked about listening, we talked about powerful questions and encouraging. But from a coaching conversation, and you've got to move people to take action. Yes, we got to get results in the workplace. So making sure that at the end of the conversation, you take stock on, okay, what's next? What's that next step of action you're going to take based on our conversation? So while you put this coach hat on, you facilitate this process where a person is open, they're coming up with new solutions, and you want them to then take the next step and be accountable for the actions. Notice what it says here, that they have designed for themselves. Actions become more powerful when a person is bought in and comes from them what they're going to do next. So what you want to do is create action and accountability, because if you do that, it'll increase the likelihood that there will be follow through. And when the person being coached helps design those steps, because they know the best way sometimes for them to get it done. And if they don't know, they might ask you, or you might offer to brainstorm and collaborate with them. But draw out those answers and those next steps from the person in front of you. Some simple questions to ask at the end of the conversation. So we've talked about a lot of things today. This has been an amazing conversation. Thank you for connecting. What are your next steps? And what support do you need from me? Those two questions, as you wrap up a conversation, can be game-changing questions to accelerate to new results. I want to thank you for joining me in embracing coaching mindset as a leader. I can tell you, in having coached leaders around the globe, all the way up to the C-suite level, that these simple, they seem obvious, right? To listen, to encourage, to ask powerful questions. But these simple things, using a coaching presence, encouraging people, listening, asking powerful questions, and action planning can bring about a tremendous change in your interactions with each one of your team members and your entire group that you're leading. I hope you gained some valuable insights. Take something, and I ask you, what is your next step with applying what you heard today with your team tomorrow? Write it down so you remember. Post some of these slides around your screen at work to remember the learning. And my hope is that you embrace a coaching approach in the workplace, because we need happier, healthier workplaces where all the humans that go there every day can thrive and be at their best. And each of us has a role to play in bringing that about. Thank you so much for your time today.